Hello and welcome, G.I. Joe Classified fans. We're going to look at G.I. Joe Classified Series number 105, Jason Shockwave Faria. Don't go nowhere. G.I. Joe Classified Series number 105, Jason Shockwave Faria was a member, a recognized and distinguished member of the Detroit SWAT team before he was drafted into the G.I. Joe team as Special Weapons and Tactics Officer. As you can see, Shockwave comes with his initial SWAT loadout, which is a tactical shield with 2 lights on it, as well as a nightstick. That shield is really something else. As you can see there, he's got 4 Cobra kills marked clearly on the front. That will certainly antagonize and possibly intimidate any Cobra officers or the like that he might come into contact with. I have a couple of complaints about these pieces, mainly just the nightstick, and that is that there's not a place to stow it, unfortunately. If there is, I haven't found it yet. Of course, that shield, I wouldn't expect there to be a place to stow that because it's massive. And different from the Cobra shields that we've seen on the Alley Vipers, there's nothing like a computer or anything like that on the inside, but we do have a grip there for him to hold, and then there's a secondary clasp that goes onto his forearm, which doesn't quite work real well with those forearm shields. That armor that they have on his forearms, it's a bit too small, but it doesn't really create an issue as far as keeping it on him. And for my purposes, for photography, it's been fine. And if you really wanted to, you could pull that piece of armor off and clasp it on there perfectly without it. But I think it works pretty well. The nightstick is a little bit bendy, but it seems like they're getting their plastics together, getting closer and closer to a good weapon that's just not too bendy. We don't want them breaking, but we don't want them like spaghetti either. As you can see here, he's got 2 knives. He's got one on his chest. He's got one on his boot there. Neither of those are painted. They're both just black knives, which for us photographers is a little disappointing because the trend with newer figures has been to paint those knives silver, which really makes them pop in photographs. So it's a little disappointing to see those black knives at this point. I thought we were a little bit further than that, especially on newer figures. So you may want to pull out a different knife if you're going to feature him in a photo with a knife. Then he's got the 2 Mac 10s on each thigh, and those have the removable magazines. I'm going to change up here and show you what he looks like with those. And of course, the hat is removable. As I've said on a previous video, it's really one of the great things about the Classified series is, you know, when I was a kid and I had my Shockwave figure, that hat was stuck on his head and I had no option as far as displaying him or playing with him and going without the hat. There was just not a possibility. So it's really great to be able to have those options, especially for us photographers. All right, let's take a look at those Mac 10s. All right, here's Shockwave with those Mac 10s, that trademark pair of Mac 10s, and he certainly doesn't disappoint. I think the sizing is really good. I don't think we've seen these guns yet, so this is a unique loadout at this point, especially for Shockwave. And as I said, this loadout doesn't disappoint. We got 2 knives, 2 MAC-10s, a shield, and a nightstick. The camouflage pattern is very unique. We have no other members of the G.I. Joe team with this shade of blue, and he almost looks more like a Cobra than a Joe, and certainly I think he would be a easy guy to slide into any Night Force type runs or type missions with any of the members of Night Force. He's almost a one-man Night Force on his own. And as you'll see in my photos, the blue and the camouflage, he's got some great little details in there, like the beige details, the paint apps and the camo, and they really pop great in photos. You know, depending on what sort of lighting you want to add in there, green or red, it just really pops out of the photos. And as I mentioned about the weapons, and it applies to the figure too, the QC is really on point on this figure. There's no gaps. There are no hip flops, no loose legs. The plastic feels dense and it feels strong. I think they're really getting it there. And there's not much I can complain about with this figure other than that nightstick. I wish there was somewhere to stow it. Other than that, and again, I wish that there were some silver paint apps on those knives. That's a little disappointing at this point. Short of that, an unpainted head sculpt is a lot to ask for, and some extra hands. I can see Shockwave needing to punch somebody, or maybe maybe reinforce somebody. So grabbing hands, punching hands would have been a welcome and appropriate addition. And as we see this series get better and better, I hope that you know, we'll start getting some additional hands on some of these mainline releases. Another thing that I think would have been interesting with him is a set of handcuffs. I haven't done a review on Chuckles yet, but I'm a little disappointed with just how delicate those handcuffs are. They're really almost impossible to use because they're so delicate. It certainly is good that they included the pre-broken set, because I would have broken them just trying to get them on. But back to Shockwave. I would say he's about a 9 of 10 for me, folks. I've got some photos I'm going to share with you right now. Please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, notification button. This is Carnage saying thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.